She was apparently arguing with Paul Bettany's son and she made him cry. That was such a powerful move. What it looks like to have a phone thrown at your face. Amber hasn't paid everything. It was seen in public with a mark on the same side of his face. Hey guys, so this video is up a lot later than I was hoping. I had a really busy weekend. So I want to go through what happened last week in Johnny's trial. I appreciate this week's also had some bombshells, but I figured it's probably best just to go through each week as they come. I still think I want to just go through some of the things that I caught that I think personally were quite important. I guarantee I've missed things. I've tried to make sure to listen to all testimonies, but it is, obviously there's hours and hours and hours worth of this stuff. So if you want to go see them, I watched the Law and Crime live streams from each of the days. They do also do little clips of them. Go check that out if you want to see everything. Sit down and be a good boy. Yeah. When I filmed my video, I was on the last day of, while the court was on the lunch break. However, on the last day of the trial last week, last day of the week, not the actual last day of the trial, obviously, the defence thought that they would leave Johnny with a voice recording where he discussing suicide. And he left that with Johnny over the whole weekend.
Before we start, Mr. Depp, during this meeting that you had with her, at one point you tried to cut yourself with a knife, correct?
I don't recall that, no.
Okay, let's play this.
I mean, I might have made a move.
You want to cut me somewhere?
Do I want to cut you?
Yeah, you want an arm, you want a chest? What do you want? Where do you want the scar? What do you want? Cut me.
Just don't cut your skin. Please do not cut your skin.
It's really tough.
The knife is really dull.
I have to use the sharp part.
Don't do that. Don't.
Don't you tell me.
Please don't do that. Put the knife down.
Don't.
Just put the knife down. Don't do that. Do not do that, Johnny. Please,
I
you're
want to
gonna
look at you.
hurt yourself. Please
I want to
stop.
look at you.
I know you're in pain. Wait. Stop. Please
There's a
don't.
way for the pain to go away.
Well, it's not that. It doesn't make it go away, trust me.
You know,
I do know. It doesn't make it go away.
really?
Did it make it go away?
Yeah.
It did? Please don't do that, okay? The knife is really dull, and it would be the worst thing in the world to use to cut
No,
me
on
with.
top.
It would be too painful and dull and dirty to use
Yeah,
to.
that's the tip of the knife.
Right? It's pretty. No, please do not, don't. You're gonna hurt yourself. Don't. It's okay. Please don't cut yourself. Please don't. Please stop. Please stop. Please. Don't hurt yourself, please.
No, I won't
Stop.
hurt myself at all.
Please.
Your Honor, I think that might, if it's okay with Your Honor,
More than we could do.
yes.
Okay. All right. That's fine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks.
Now, first of all, I personally think that's a very, very scummy thing to do. I also think it's really disgusting that Amber thought it was a good idea to record someone in their lowest possible moment. As someone who has contemplated suicide a few times, that is not a moment you ever want to revisit. I discussed suicide last week because Amber has threatened suicide previously to Johnny and even to her mother. That is a form of manipulation and abuse. Johnny's point of view, this was after they'd split, and she got in contact with him and asked to meet him, even though she set the restraining order up because he'd apparently assaulted her.
Why were you threatening to hurt yourself in that audio recording?
In fact, I wasn't threatening to hurt myself. I thought that Miss Heard had brought me to San Francisco. At that point, it was clear she was under false pretenses. I don't know what she was after. So I had a knife in my pocket, and I just took the knife out and I said, "Here, cut me." That's what you want to do. Ultimately, you've taken everything. You want my blood? Take it. Have my blood. And then she said, no. And then I said, look, if you're not going to take it, you want it. I know you want it. That's all I've got left. Take it. If she wasn't going to do it, I would have done it. Because that's psychologically, emotionally where I was. I was at the end. I was broken.
Take all that away for a second. Take away all of the background and context. If Johnny is the abuser and Amber is the victim, and she has a restraining order against her apparent abuser, sorry, what victim who's finally apparently escaped their abuser goes running back to them after they've apparently assaulted them the day before? Like, I know, don't get me wrong, I know there is like manipulation, and they feel like they're connected in some way. I don't know, it's extremely take everything else away, it's so questionable. The one good thing about Monday was that, considering what the defence left Johnny on to think about and remind him of that whole weekend, about, I want to say 70 to 80% of the objections that the prosecution objected to got sustained.
Objection asked and answered.
I'll
You
sustain the
chose,
objection.
you correct?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection.
Correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Asked and answered, I'll sustain the objection. Next.
Objection relevance asked and answered.
It's not been asked and answered.
Hasn't been asked and answered, but I'm not sure what the relevance is.
Objection compound.
All right, I'll sustain as to compound.
Objection relevance.
I'll sustain the objection.
Mr. Depp, you realize that the only job for this jury to decide,
Yes, sir.
its only job, is to determine whether this op-ed and this op-ed alone is defamatory.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
I'll sustain the objection.
Is the only statement, the only publication of anything that's the subject of the lawsuit that you brought, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection.
Objection compound and asked and answered.
I'll sustain both objections.
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the
The
objection.
only,
Objection compound asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objections.
I'm sorry?
Objection
words that
states
misheard
the
you.
document.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. You want-
I'm not sure what we're looking at.
Objection
Oh, I see it.
calls for a legal conclusion.
So I'll sustain the objection.
it's,
I'll
His
sustain the objection.
After what had happened the previous week, that was so satisfying. Rottenborn can just continue to be rude, let's just say. There's another compilation of Johnny, like, literally having enough of that guy.
Who actually told me what he was.
Your Honor, hearsay?
I haven't finished my sentence. How do you know?
I'll overrule the
Based on the
We'll just take a look at the next
accusations that she
exhibit, Mr.
brought.
Depp.
I'm sorry, I was talking. Is that all right?
You would answer my question. We'll take a look at the next exhibit. Thank you.
As long as you're happy, sir.
The text at the top of
where
the
am I
page.
looking, sir?
On your screen, please.
I
sorry.
figured that out.
The
Thanks.
top text on
But one of the stupidest things, I don't understand how this didn't get thrown out the second they tried it, was that they submitted, not as evidence, so not for the jury, simply to be read out, newspaper articles and newspaper headlines specifically. They tried to say that prior to the op-ed, Johnny had negative press. Every single famous person has had something negative written about them, and the headline is almost always embellished or taken out of context, specifically so that the reader will go, oh, what's this about? And start reading it. As Johnny said, very, very, very well. Firstly, it was all hearsay.
Reports say. Did I read that correctly?
Reports say. This is hearsay.
June 21st, 2018.
And secondly,
These are all hit
also
pieces.
from May
These
10th,
are drags, sir.
2017.
This
Mr. Depp.
is a pathetic attempt.
all that did, in my eyes personally, was made the defence look really, really pathetic. It made them look really slimy and that they would do anything to win. Because to me, the only reason they did that was to try and humiliate him in front of the jury. To try and dissuade the picture that Johnny had created. He is the victim, that he's not a bad guy, that he hires loyal, good people. He's so likeable. He's incredibly likeable. So much so that something that's actually been said this week, that people get over diva and drugs behaviour of any big, like, movie star, basically, because they're amazing at their craft. This is what I don't understand about the defence. They're constantly trying to say, oh, well, Johnny's been known to drink and do drugs and this and that. And it's like, yeah, and he's admitted to it. Whereas your client apparently only hit Johnny once, and yet there's multiple recordings and multiple testimonies that she's done it a lot more than just once. Something else that Johnny said, people had sort of gathered. Johnny's injury was on his main guitar hand, the fret hand. And trust me, as someone who's just started learning how to play guitar, that's an important hand.
I'm a guitarist and have been since I was 12, and that was the only piece that I found in my life at the age of 12 where I knew what I knew who I could escape into music and learn music. And the last thing, I'm a guitar, I mean, I still play the guitar with, it's still my first love, aside from my children. It's, again, why would I start lopping off digits in my 50s? Why would I ruin the only thing that was really good in my life aside from my children? So
they kept going on about Paul Bettany, and I didn't really understand why. Paul Bettany and Johnny Depp are apparently really good friends. They knew each other's kids, and they spent a lot of time together, and Amber hated Paul Bettany.
Would you describe Mr. Bettany's relationship with Miss Heard while you and Miss Heard were together?
abominable.
Why was that?
Ms. Heard despised Mr. Bettany mainly because we had become such close friends, and for her he was a threat, and would take me away from her with regard to if Paul Bettany was getting the attention from me. That was a showstopper. It would cause all kinds of unpleasantries.
I wonder why. Couldn't have anything to do with the fact that abusers try to seclude their victims so that they feel like they have no one else to turn to. Couldn't have anything to do with that, right? Amber was so toxic. Narcissism is so high that she was apparently arguing with Paul Bettany's son, and she made him cry.
Ms. Heard and Mr. Bettany got into some debate over lunch, and I just remember that whenever Mr. Bettany tried to make a point, she would talk over him, and then it started to get quite rude. She got mean, and she got loud, and then his I believe it was his 18-year-old boy. He entered the conversation because this was something to do with what he'd studied in school, and he knew quite a lot about it, and he voiced his opinion. And Ms. Heard demeaned that young man to the point of where he burst into tears and walked away. And it was at that point that I had spoken to Ms. Heard and said, that's just unacceptable. That behavior is unacceptable. You have no right to demean that boy. You cannot always be right. You should try being wrong sometime because you might learn something.
What sort of 30-year-old woman is so adamant about being right that she makes an 18-year-old cry? That woman's fucking evil. There was a voice note, I can't remember whose testimony it was. I feel like it was Johnny's, but I can't remember. A voice recording of Amber saying she was concerned about her credibility.
That shit don't matter. Here's the deal.
No, it matters. It makes. You have no idea. Every ounce of my credibility has been taken from. I mean, and done so in a dishonest way. You know.
Amber, the abuse thing is we've got to deal with that. Yeah. We've got to deal with that,
Amber.
Amber.
Any way of my credit is my credibility. You know what?
And why did you put that out there?
I did not. You forced me. Your team forced me to by going on the offense.
I didn't force you to.
From the very beginning. I promise. Look up the timelines to these things. Everything is. Forget it. Forget it. You don't believe what I say. You don't believe what I say. But I did not choose this. Every step of the way has been an offense.
I did not put this anywhere. I didn't. Let me talk to the fucking team.
What sort of apparent victim has to be worried about their credibility? Johnny has finally finished his cross-examination and being testified. I will say a very powerful moment. They re-listened to the very damning evidence of Amber saying, go on, Johnny, tell the world that you're a victim of domestic abuse.
And what did you say in response when Miss Heard said, tell the world, Johnny, tell them Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp, a man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence?
I said, yes, I am.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
And that was it. That was the end of Johnny being on the witness stand. And I think that was such a powerful move from his team. I think I'm going to try and race through these because I did watch all of them. It was over a week ago now, so I feel like I'm already starting to forget. A few of the things I think were really important. First of all, Ben King. So proud he's a Brit. He was so fucking cool. He had one of the best what the fuck moments from the defence team because they tried to object to their own question.
Dr. Kipper told me he'd sustained an injury on one of his fingers.
Objection, hearsay.
Wait, you asked the question.
Oh,
Next question.
okay. He said he sustained an injury to his finger.
Ben King looked after the house in Australia where Johnny sustained the injury to his finger. He witnessed fights, he witnessed destruction.
Did you ever observe any arguments between the two?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was a strange, sort of banal way to start an argument, but...
How would you describe Miss Heard's tone when she said, why did you take your hand away, Johnny?
Accusatory, spoilt teenage child? Maybe? Is that fair?
At some point, was Mr. Depp's fingertip found?
Yes.
Who found it?
I did.
Walk us through how you found it.
Yes, so I walked down the stairs. I mean, there was a bit of damage down the steps. That a big chunk had been taken out of the marble staircase. On my way down, remnants of what looked like a plant pot or something around it smashed. Walking down into the bar, I could see the damage that Dr. Kipper had told me about. A broken ping pong table sort of collapsed onto the floor, and lots of glass and broken glass and cans strewn around the bar area. A fair bit on the floor around the area. There were puddles of what smelt like alcohol to me. There were, it seemed like several drinking glasses, a couple of bottles. One was a Stolichnaya vodka bottle.
But the main thing was that Ben King was on a flight with Amber the day after, within 24 hours of Johnny sustaining the injury. So he was sitting next to her the whole flight and didn't witness a single mark on her face.
At any point, did you observe anything about Miss Heard physically on that flight?
Yes, I did. Right toward just before we landed, I noticed some marks on her arm, her left forearm.
How would you describe those?
Long, kind of uniform, evenly spaced, sort of long, thin marks.
He even said that Amber asked him on the flight.
So what happened? You know, obviously referring to the house. And, I mean, she didn't give much explanation, if any. She did say, Ben, have you ever been so angry with someone you just lost it with them? And I sort of said, no. Actually, I'm pretty calm, you know, even-tempered guy. But she did repeat it. She looked pretty incredulous that I hadn't. And she repeated it. You mean you've never lost it with somebody, got so angry with someone you just lost it with them?
This woman has no control. We have the estate keeper. Johnny Depp owns an island. He has someone who looks after his estate. She had seen him with family. She had seen him with Amber. And there was a clear fucking difference. Hi, Brady.
What, if any, injuries did you observe on Miss Heard?
I didn't observe any.
What, if any, injuries did you observe on Mr. Depp?
The marking across the bridge of his nose.
How did Mr. Depp react to Miss Heard viciously grabbing him?
He didn't. He stood there with his arms by his side, and he didn't do anything.
Now we get on to the psychologist. So this was a open and shut fucking case for the fact that Amber had undergone a, I want to say, psychology test. I can't remember the fucking word.
I was asked by counsel to provide a psychological evaluation of Ms. Heard.
And you met directly with Ms. Heard?
Yes, I did. So in conducting my evaluation, I met with Ms. Heard on two separate dates, December 10th and December 17th, 2021. We spent 7 hours together on the first day, December 10th, not necessarily together because there was a 1 hour lunch break and about a half hour with breaks split up through the day. And then on the 17th, we spent a little more than 8 hours in the evaluation from start to finish with a 1 hour break and another half hour of breaks distributed throughout the day. The results of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported 2 diagnoses, borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. It was information that supported it from multiple sources. One of the main tests that I used, she obtained scores that were consistent with those diagnoses. And then I also, there was evidence of those diagnoses in her records and in her self-report.
Predictive factor in women who implement violence against their partner. One tactic is physically assaulting them and then getting hurt themselves, then using the legal system, for example, using a restraining order. Where have I seen that before? She listed what she considered to be some of Heard's personality traits, including passive-aggressive behaviour and self-indulgent and self-centred behaviour, as well as being full of rage inner anger and blame. To be honest, I don't even need to get into all of this because people have considered that she might have some kind of BPD. I will put the descriptions of both of the diagnoses on the screen for you to read at your leisure. Let's just say it's not a shock to people, and that is not to say that anyone with these diagnoses are automatically an abuser. Absolutely not. That's not what anyone would say, and not to say anyone with any kind of personality disorder is an abuser or violent in any way. We're just talking specifically about Amber Heard, who we know to be violent considering the countless witness testimonies. Then we also had the agent. People were saying in the comments, or like the live stream comments, that the agent was Lady Gaga's ex.
I mean, you're asking me what my opinion is of what Johnny's reputation is today. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
My opinion of what Johnny's reputation today is one of the finest actors of his generation.
Very interesting. Hollywood's a small world. Basically, he was saying that it was easier to get jobs for Johnny prior to the op-ed.
And is that Amber's accusations would have had the most dramatic impact on his off-screen reputation.
There's a clear consensus across a lot of witnesses on the plaintiff's side, on Johnny's side, that concur that because of that op-ed piece, it wasn't just some random news article that was quoting what she said. It was, from her personal point of view, a significant newspaper like the Washington Post. It picked up a lot more traction than something like The Sun. Okay, so next we have the building manager. Everyone fucking loved him. Everyone found him absolutely hilarious. It sounded like he was so done. He was so sick of being questioned about something that really had nothing to fucking do with him, and he just wanted to get on with his fucking life.
I want to try to move along. So the incident was May 21st, 2016. You saw her the night of May 25th, correct?
Correct.
You said you saw Amber Heard hundreds of times while she was there. Did Amber Heard treat you well, and was she friendly to you in each of these hundreds of times?
Yes. I'm not gonna say no because she was really always nice.
All right, this is my last.
Be nice.
All right, this is my last.
That was a first, I'm sorry.
I will say, Your Honor, that is the most bizarre deposition.
Okay, all right, I've just never seen that before. I've seen a lot of things, but I've just never seen that.
Driving that.
Yeah, that did it.
Yes, the building manager saw Amber a lot.
Ms. Heard stood approximately 3 feet away from you. I did not notice any bruises, cuts, swelling, red marks, or any other injuries of any kind on Ms. Heard's face. Do you see that?
Correct.
The defence is always going on about like, oh, but you don't know if she's wearing concealer or foundation or what. Oh, Jesus Christ. Shut up. Amber apparently, in her words anyway, said that Johnny threw a fucking phone at her face.
It's consistent with a cell phone being thrown at her.
Correct. It does not look like an injury caused from a cell phone.
Someone on Twitter showed what it looks like to have a phone thrown at your face, and a makeup artist said that there is no fucking way you could cover that up. Even if you were able to cover it up, it would be so tender and so sore. And yet, the following day, Amber was like laughing and joking and there wasn't a mark on her face. She's so arrogant that she thinks that this sort of stuff is never going to come up. I cannot fucking wait for her to be cross-examined when she goes onto the witness stand. And then we get on to something that I think is really important. The 3 police officers that saw her the day that she apparently got assaulted, and because of that, it was like the day before she went in to get a restraining order. The 2 original police officers who went to the apartment didn't see a single thing on Amber's face. Her face was a bit red, but they concurred that that was the fact that she was consistently crying.
recollection is that you saw no injuries on Amber Heard, correct?
Correct.
And your best recollection is you saw no property damage, nothing in disarray, nothing out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
And if you had seen either of those, you would have had to file a report, correct?
Correct.
Could you just read this next part that you wrote on here?
Sure. Advice can call at later time if changes mind, because she was uncooperative and didn't want to speak to us.
There to be an injury or evidence of injury on Amber's face in this photo.
No, I do not.
What is your perception of the redness on the cheek and the eyelid and above the eyebrow?
It's consistent. I observed her crying. She's fair skinned. Her face is flushed.
If you had seen this mark close enough to be able to see it, would you have believed you had an obligation to prepare a report?
No, because I don't know what this is from.
Would you agree it's a red mark on her face?
Yeah,
I'll ask you.
from what I saw was red from her crying. There was no red marks from any other thing. It was consistent with her crying.
If you're crying, your face gets a bit red and blotchy and your eyes will get a bit, puffed up or whatever. So both police officers concurred that they've seen couples with domestic violence before and this was not that situation. But the defence were trying to say that the police officers didn't do a good enough job. Am I saying that all police officers definitely do a good job? No. But we're not just talking about 2 police officers. Another 2 police officers with body cameras went to the apartment. I don't know, so many hours later. It wasn't that long later. And if anything, if she'd apparently been assaulted, would it not come up a lot more after 4 or 5 hours? If you get hit in the face, that swelling's going to get worse over hours and hours and hours. So surely it'd be even more visible.
Can we just come in and just check? We need to make sure everybody in here is okay, and then we. I called twice. Yeah. I don't know if she called twice or whoever called, but we just got another notification. So we just need to come in and make sure that everybody's okay. Is they're all good? Nobody else is in here?
No. The other officers came by and checked the apartment and the other apartment as well.
Yeah. Okay.
It must have been like a double call.
Okay. Who's Amber? Okay. And Johnny
is definitely not here.
He's not here? Okay.
Probably 2 hours ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Everything's all good then?
Now it's yes.
All right.
Thank you.
So if you guys need anything else, just call us back.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You have a good night.
Thank you, officers.
Yep, thank you. Good night.
Apparently, Johnny had wrecked the fucking apartment. The body cameras showed nothing out of the ordinary to the apartment. There was no obvious damage. So that was, again, complete fucking bullshit. He also couldn't tell which person was Amber Heard. And you think, considering if she's the person that's apparently been assaulted with a black fucking eye, she'd be pretty noticeable. Then when they spoke to the ACLU, so ACLU are one of the charities that, as part of the divorce, they were meant to get 7 million each? 3.5. Because it was 7 million total. Half was meant to go to a children's charity and half was meant to go to ACLU. Firstly, considering that was part of the divorce agreement, she hasn't succeeded to do that. The accountant, which I will get into next, but he did confirm, because they're kind of intertwined, Amber got all of the money by, I want to say, the start of 2018.
Question? Did you make a proposal as to how payments would be made to Miss Heard?
Yes, I did, and they were initially contemplated to be paid directly to the charities. During the course of the negotiations, one of the demands, because the contract changed, was that the payments be made directly to Miss Heard. The first payments made to Miss Heard was $2 million in 2017. Then in April of 2017, another payment of $1 million made payable directly to Ms. Heard was made. Then in August of 2017, another $1 million was paid directly to Ms. Heard. Then in November, $500,000 was paid directly to Ms. Heard. My colleagues drafted those checks. I executed them. They were delivered on a timely basis. Therefore, in 2017, she was paid $4.5 million directly paid to her. Then on February 1 of 2018, she was paid the final installment of $2.3 million for total payments that went directly to Ms. Heard of $6.8 million.
So she had the whole $7 million, bar like I want to say $100,000 or $200,000 or something. Johnny submitted the first donation because I think they thought that it was meant to go from him directly.
Mr. Depp directed me to issue two $100,000 checks directly to the Children's Hospital Los Angeles. I knew that he was involved and supported their efforts and appreciated his service. In addition to that, he directed me to contribute $100,000 to ACLU. In accordance with his instructions, my colleagues drafted the checks, I executed them, and they were delivered to the two charities.
Did you continue making payments to either of those charities on Ms. Heard's behalf?
No, in fact, I was chastised for making the payments by Ms. Heard's counsel.
Johnny wanted to make sure the money directly went to the charities and didn't go into Amber's pocket because he fucking knew that she would not give those charities all of that money.
$7 million in total was donated to, I split it between the ACLU and Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Wanted nothing.
Fuck, was he right. He donates the first $100,000 directly to those charities, so they get $100,000. ACLU did say that Amber had apparently pledged $3.5 million, and they get it over so many payments. I think it's like for tax reasons or whatever. The next payment was $350,000 from a private account. It came from an account into that private, like, anonymous account, and then from the anonymous account to the charity, which basically means anyone could have paid that in. And that's shown as well, considering there was, like, I want to say 550 grand that was donated by Elon Musk on behalf of Amber Heard.
Okay. Now, is it also your understanding that Elon Musk made the $500,000 payment towards Amber Heard's $3.5 million pledge?
Yes, we don't know that with absolute certainty, but that is our organization's understanding.
So basically, she's made all of maybe 3 or 4 payments. 2 of them didn't even come from her. Definitely didn't come from the money that she has given specifically for those fucking charities.
Were the payments made on to Ms. Heard the only economic benefits that she received from the settlement agreement?
No, as I shared with you earlier, Mr. Depp was required to pay $500,000 to Ms. Heard's counsel, which he did in a timely and respectful manner. He was also required to pay all the community liabilities, which accumulated during their 15-month of marriage, was approximately $13,500,000. So he paid all the community liabilities. She paid none of them. That's why you have to aggregate the money that was paid directly to her, the money that was paid to her, to the charities on her behalf, the money that was paid to her attorneys, and the relief of all these liabilities that he had to satisfy. That's why I said to you, Counselor, that the total consideration paid to her was $14,250,000, and she demanded that that payment be made free of taxation.
Amber's excuse is the fact that Johnny submitted a lawsuit against her, and therefore she'd come on hard times. She was literally paid to be an Aquaman. Like, sorry, but where do you get off? She has fucking money.
Are you familiar with an entity known as 2020 Wine Merchants?
Yes, I am. The liabilities that Mr. Depp incurred, which at the dissolve of their marriage was approximately $160,000. And then I know that Ms. Heard enjoyed drinking the wine.
How much does it cost?
The cost of the wine is approximately $500 a bottle.
Long story short, the account has confirmed that Amber hasn't paid everything. Johnny started to sue her, and so she used the money that he gave her against him when he's suing her. In Johnny's word, she's a cunt. That accountant did incredible, by the way, from the cross-examination of the defence. Like, fucking Rottenborn needs to shut the fuck up. Like, he's so rude.
Of communications between her and our firm. Did I read that right?
Yes, but you
That was my question.
the
Just
term.
if I read that right, sir. Now, part of the services that you provide, that your firm provides to Mr. Depp, is in layman's terms that I can understand, because I don't speak all the kind of business school terms that you speak. He didn't have enough money at the time, correct? Sir, that is correct. Did I read that right?
You did, but remember,
that was just my
I get a
question.
chance
You
to
answered my
respond.
question, sir.
So fucking rude. The last two from last week were his Scottish bodyguard.
Trying to urinate in the foyer, wasn't he?
No.
Mr. Depp had his penis out of his pants,
Objection.
didn't he?
I think I would remember
Relevance.
seeing Mr. Depp penis.
I'll allow. Next question.
And you were trying to get Mr. Depp
I
out.
want to say he said he was in the police, and from his time in the police, he picks up on little things, and he had noticed that Johnny consistently had marks on one side of his face.
Did you ever observe any physical injuries on Miss Heard?
Never, no.
How about on Mr. Depp?
Yes, it started off with maybe a scratch once in a while, a swelling, but it got more. It got more, yeah. I'm not talking he was marked every week or every 2 weeks, but yeah, he sustained marks there, definitely. He was getting marked.
Can you generally describe for us what you remember about the marks you saw on Mr. Depp?
Yes, as I was saying, in the prison service, you're taught to pick up, log in your mind, mental logging in your mind, marks, bruises, bully patterns, stuff. What I noticed right away was most of these marks and most of these things through my training is happening in the left-hand side of his face, and it would be scratches on his neck, maybe a fat lip in the corner, maybe a bruising on the eye socket. Dull impacts, except for obviously the scratches, maybe on his left ear. Sometimes it'd be two marks, 2 lines, 2 trams, 1. Yeah, yeah. And it was getting more regular. As I say, not every week, but it was definitely happening, yeah.
And that even on their honeymoon, when they were in like a vintage train or something like that, there was literally a photo of him with a mark under his cheek. Again, I can't remember what fucking side of the face. And funnily enough, when Amber Heard was dating Elon Musk, he was seen in public with a mark on the same side of his face. Interesting, right? The chauffeur also mentioned that he had never seen any marks on Amber.
Understanding, Mr. Jenkins, there's nothing wrong with wanting to spend time with your friends at a music festival after being abused by your husband, right? What abuse?
That brings us to this week. Like I said, I will go through everything that happens this week. After doing the edit, I was just so burnt out. I just kind of needed a break for a couple of days, so I apologise, this is late. I did want to fucking mention, though, Drew Barrymore has a talk show or whatever. She was joking about the violence.
I can't handle the Johnny Depp Amber Heard. I am on the feeder. It's like one layer of crazy. It's a 7-layer dip of insanity.
It's truly amazing just to sit back and read the transcripts of what they've done to each other.
Every night I get in bed and I'm like,
dude's like, this needs to be on TV. He lost a fingertip. He drew his name in blood on the wall.
How about the burnt body and why a Honda Civic?
Yeah.
What's the Honda Civic? The next day at Honda, they all came into the office and they were like, why did he pick us? Like, why? Who?
It's fascinating.
It's so fascinating. I know that these are two people's real lives, and I know what it's like to have your life put out in public. I understand all the feelings, but they are actually offering up this information.
He's literally making a joke about his injury. Now, I mentioned in my previous Johnny Depp video that, you know, humour is like definitely used for a lot of people to like deal with situations. Like with a lot of jokes though, this crossed the line. I wasn't joking about someone being sarcastic in court, right? Or about the defence team being rude as fuck. This was minimising the abuse of a male victim. Male victims of domestic abuse, like physical abuse, sexual assault. It is so hard in general for them to come forward because it's always, well, you're a man, you should have more control, you should be able to do this, you should have been able to do that. It is fucking bad enough that women still get victim blamed. Men is even worse. I've looked up to Drew Barrymore for a really fucking long time, and this just threw her. Like, what the actual fuck was she thinking? People in the audience were finding it fucking uncomfortable. Jesus. She did bring out an apology.
Hi, it has come to my attention that I have offended people with making light of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and for that I just want to deeply apologize and appreciate everyone who spoke out, because this can be a teachable moment for me and how I move forward and how I conduct myself. I can be a more thoughtful and better person moving forward, because all I want to do is be a good person. And I very much appreciate the depth of this, and I will grow and change from it. And I thank everyone for helping me.
Not the worst apology, I will say, but honestly, from someone like that, who's actually met Johnny Depp as well, it's just so fucking disappointing. Someone who should be lifting victims of abuse up. Where the fuck was that? I'm sorry to end on that more somber note. I think Amber's meant to be testifying this week, so if she is, that is going to be a spicy video. So if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe and put your notifications on so you do not miss when the video goes live. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the update. If you did, make sure to give this a like. But yeah, I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye!